What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So there's a lot of stuff happening right now, and I want to break down what is currently going on. The first thing that we're hearing this afternoon is that progressives are now very upset because they're realizing how much they have to give up on their own agenda versus what moderate Democrats have to give up on their end. Some are saying that there's fewer moderates than progressives, so why do we have to cater to them? That's becoming a big issue, and progressives are pushing President Biden to do a better job in negotiating. We're also hearing that the Biden administration is worried that the narrative going forward is going to be progressives versus moderates, and that's not what we need to see. When in reality, according to multiple reports, this should be, or at least the narrative at this point should be, the majority of Democrats versus two holdouts, not progressives versus moderates. However, experts say that President Biden needs to step up, show how he can negotiate, because Democrats are going to be the ones that are going to lose it all in the end. Now, one thing I can tell you, when it comes to the child tax credit payments, those are seen as a very popular piece of legislation amongst voters, amongst children, amongst families. However, it's not seen as a very popular piece of legislation amongst those on Social Security or those that are individuals without families, without children. That's an issue. Those are two large groups. So, the expectation is at this point, if the child tax credit payments actually pass, whether it's for 2 years or 4, doesn't matter. That will be a very popular piece of legislation. However, now Democrats need to look at the other side. Figure out how can they provide more to people that do not have children, that do not have families. How do they cater to them? One of the ways is to provide this potentially up to $1,000 stimulus debit card. That is for people to help pay for their expenses for Medicare, but for vision, dental, and hearing. Those three things. However, at this time, that is still up in the air as well. But progressives have said they're not going to pit Medicare versus affordable housing. They're not going to pit free community college is pretty much out, so that the talks on that are pretty much done. But they're not going to pit paid family leave against things like childcare, affordable childcare. They're not going to pit it against shoring up Obamacare, because some progressives want that as well. That's a push from Nancy Pelosi. So progressives have actually jumped on Nancy Pelosi's back and on her side. And they're saying, you know what? You supported us in not bringing the bill to the floor for a vote. So we're going to support you, and we want to see Obamacare shored up as well. But at the same time, we need to see Medicare. We need to see it expanded. So we'll see. Now, just the other day, I mentioned how multiple lawmakers do not expect a deal to be done in October. According to reports this afternoon, what we're hearing is that multiple lawmakers are agreeing to, let's get the finalized version, the framework. Let's get that agreed upon by the end of October. Then we can work on the legislative text. Then we can finalize the bill and we can vote on it sometime in the middle of November. That's what we're hearing. That's the expectation. But according to multiple experts today, they say the longer we drag this out, so the more weeks this goes on, the negotiation process goes on, we could eventually see some Democrats decide, you know what, this isn't worth it. We should just wait. Let's wait, and we'll get the bill done next year. We'll get the bill done when we have a little bit more power, which a little bit more power might be in 2023. So again, I'm just saying that might be where we're at. But here's what Senator Van Hollen had to say. And I quote, "It's really important that President Biden use active shuttle diplomacy to get this done, because my view is we've got to have a good framework by the end of this month and then be able to convert that into legislation to get it passed by the mid-November period. This is exactly what multiple lawmakers have said. He goes on to state that shuttle diplomacy, it could be at the White House, having different people in different rooms, whatever it takes. That needs to happen yesterday. Just to give you an idea, what is shuttle diplomacy? Shuttle diplomacy is simply where you got two different sides that pretty much can't stand each other, do not want to get in the same room and negotiate. So, one person, and it's usually a neutral party, a mediator, goes from one person to the next or one room to the next and negotiates, as the middleman. It's essentially what it is. Well, this is exactly what I said need to be done months ago. This is what multiple lawmakers are saying needs to happen now. What we are hearing, and again, just to give you an idea, this is exactly what happened when former President Donald Trump and Speaker Pelosi were trying to work out a deal, because you got the top Republican, you got the top Democrat at that time. They have to work out a deal. It's different in this situation because back then it was Republican Democrat, now it's Democrat Democrat. But it was the exact same thing back then because former President Donald Trump didn't want to talk with Nancy Pelosi at all. They couldn't stand each other. So instead of him doing it, he sent Steve Mnuchin. So that was pretty much the exact same thing. Now, what multiple Democrats have said today was that both sides need to stop thinking about what they're losing in the deal. And again, let me just bring this up. Progressive Chairwoman Pramila Jayapal, she has said multiple times she's not going to pit paid family leave against Medicare. She's not going to pit the child tax credit payments against affordable housing, right? She goes on and on. She's not going to pit one piece of legislation against the other. Their goal is to pass the whole list of priorities, their main 5 pillars, and then they will just cut it down. Instead of 10 years, they'll do maybe 8, 6, 5 years of legislation. That's the expectation. But according to multiple Democrats today, they're saying that both sides, the progressives and moderates, the two holdouts, need to stop thinking about what they are potentially losing and look at the transformative nature of the entire bill. They say that the pieces that will pass will be great for the American people and for the economy. They go on to say, the human infrastructure bill passing will open the door for the hard infrastructure bill to pass as well. And when lawmakers agree, everybody becomes a winner. That's what they're saying. They're not saying, oh, let's continue to fight with moderates. Let's continue to fight with progressives. They're saying, let's forget about what we're losing. The progressives are going to forget about how they may not be able to include immigration reform. That's fine. We'll work on that in the next bill, right? I told you this the other day, that we are already hearing from multiple lawmakers that there's already been discussions after this human infrastructure bill passes, when it passes, and in my opinion, if it passes, we are already going to start working on the next budget reconciliation bill. The part 2 of the human infrastructure bill, part 2 of the Build Back Better Act. That's going to happen. It's going to happen in 2022. So it's going to happen. Things are going to get done. It's just, how do they fall in line? How quickly do they pass? And who ultimately votes for them? That we don't know. But let me give you a take from the other side. According to Democrats, this is a done deal. They're pretty much going to get this done very soon. Okay, that's according to Democrats. However, Senator Ron Johnson, he said, and I quote, "I hope for Democrat gridlock. Oftentimes in Washington, D.C., gridlock is the best alternative, but when it's Democrat gridlock, pray for it. I hope that's exactly what happens." Here's why he's hoping for gridlock. If nobody can come to an agreement, if moderates say no, we're not going to go over 1.5, and progressives say no, we're not going to go under 2.5, that's where they're gridlocked at this time. President Biden says, let's come together, let's pass a bill right about $1.9 to $2.3 trillion. Nancy Pelosi said it's going to be about $2 trillion. That's what multiple Democratic lawmakers are in agreement to at this time. But the other two sides say, no, we're not there yet. So, according to multiple experts, they say, or they're anticipating that we will see progressives pretty much just progressives, okay? I was gonna say moderates too, but I don't think they're gonna get there. Even though progressives are eventually gonna come down to about $2 trillion, I just don't see it at this time. Moderates coming up, especially Joe Manchin, coming up to $2 trillion after his pretty much red line is nothing higher than 1.5. So my expectation is progressives will come down, moderates will stay. Then what we're gonna see is progressives will eventually drop all the way to 1.5. If this goes on for another couple weeks, which my expectation is it will, progressives are gonna go from 3.5 down to 2.5, which they're currently at, down to 2, which moderates will not jump up to. They will ultimately settle somewhere below $2 trillion. My guess is probably right about $1.5 trillion at this time. Now, I want to end this by talking about masks in school. We haven't heard from the Education Secretary Miguel Cardona on any type of school loan forgiveness. However, he came out today and talked about masks in school. According to reports, the Biden administration has recommended universal masking in schools, and they say it is greatly needed. Many governors have actually refused to implement such a mandate, and several have actually gone on the offensive and banned mask mandates altogether. What we know is the Biden administration has threatened legal action multiple times, but that hasn't done anything. They've also said that they should withhold federal funding to those schools. However, here's where Education Secretary Miguel Cardona has actually come out and talked about this. He said that he doesn't know how far the current administration will go to push mask mandates. However, he speculates that they will go to the extreme in order to get something done. Even though he says that he believes mask mandates are a good thing and beneficial to schools, he also says he's reluctant to require that in order to receive federal funding, you have to have a mask mandate. He said, and I quote, "I don't know that holding funds from students is the best approach. Ultimately, the students need more support, not less." So, he is supporting the Biden administration. However, he's also supporting the students. So, what you need to understand right now is this is pretty much the first time he's really come out to address too much, or really anything. He's been very quiet, and this is what a lot of people are saying is that Miguel Cardona isn't doing his job. He's been asked multiple times to figure out, can the Biden administration cancel up to $50,000 in student debt? He hasn't done that. He obviously has the time, but he hasn't addressed that. So, my expectation is over the next 2 weeks, we are going to have an answer, or we're going to have more lawmakers push him to get a response. So, that's my expectation as of right now. But as I know more, I promise I'll come back on and share all the latest news and updates. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.